Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2022 MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference, Competitive Advantage Talk, presented by Kager, also known as the Craft Analytics Group. My name is Nahom Brahane. I'm a first-year MBA student here at MIT Sloan. It is my pleasure to introduce the presentation, How the MBA Has Evolved Data Strategy to Serve the Broadening Definition of Membership. Please help me welcome Michael James, Head of Data Strategy and Analytics from the MBA.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you about the evolution of the way the MBA views membership. I can't help but also say that I hope everyone's conference is going well, and I hope everyone's excited as I am to be able to see so many familiar faces in person. Sloan 2020 was sort of the last thing that we got to do, and it's really exciting to be here today and just see so many faces live. But with that, I don't know how many folks attended the Future of the Fan panel yesterday, but it was a tremendous introduction to what we're going to talk about today. A lot of what we're going to talk about is how we've evolved our view of the season ticket member as the center of what we do around membership. And we have so many different ways that our fans want to interact with our league and how we can build a membership program that encompasses them all. But I'm going to start with my friend Maui from Moana, who always advises us to know where we're going by and where we are by where we've been. Folks that have heard me talk before or seen some of my LinkedIn posts know that I like to be a historian of this space. So I want to take you back to when I joined Teambo at the MBA in 2011. How many folks have been part of the business strategy and analytics community in sports since 2011? Since 2011. Any of the original folks? Okay, so we have a couple. Well, just to level set for everyone, at the time, CRM was the battlefield. The question was around how we could sell our members better, how we could retain our members by keeping track of the way in which they wanted to experience our product. And at the time, about half of our league was using Arctics to fulfill that purpose as CRM. Only about a third of our league had something that would resemble a CRM system that we're familiar with today. And we actually did a survey shortly after I joined about staff sizes, full-time dedicated staff to strategy and analytics, and it actually came out to fewer than one per team. Our biggest team had about 4. So we worked very hard over the next few years to convince across all markets that CRM was necessary. It was important to being able to give our members the experience that they would want. But then we encountered the Kakamora, the crazy coconuts, who advised us that our technology needed to become more technology, just like their boats became more boats. We needed data warehouse technology. It was really important, and you can't really see from this slide here, but we had about 6 teams with a data warehouse in 2014. That ended up growing to about 30 right before and right during the pandemic. At the same time, our staff sizes had to grow from 2 per team in 2014 all the way to 7.5 pre-pandemic. We needed the staff and the technology to be able to service our members better. Finally, we encountered Tamatoa. Our tech had to become shinier, more shiny. We started the digital revolution. We needed to be able to track our members online and offline, to be able to stitch that together. And as of our last vendor and tech survey, we had at least a third of our league that had a social listening tool, customer data platform, marketing automation platform, move to the cloud, AI sales and service tools. Some of our teams, or for some of these tools, it's more than 2/3 of our league. And these are all the ways in which we have expanded the way that we are able to interact with our members, our season ticket members, that core set of members. Now, before we get to the rest of the presentation, I'm a little bit OCD, so I got to finish this analogy. When we think about our past journey to serve our members, we have the heart of Te Fiti. That is our fan data. Those are our insights. We have Moana. That's our people. We have Maui's fish hook. That's our technology. We have Taka. That's the evil budget monster. How many of you have evil budget monsters in your organization? And finally, you get past that, and you get to Te Fiti. You get to your stakeholders. You get to your fans. You get to your members. Well, I want to start just in the same way that the Future of Fan panel said. Our season ticket members are still the core of what we do. They are still at the center. And I'll give a little bit of context as to why we still very much believe that, and I want to make sure everyone leaves with that takeaway. At the same time, We have so many different ways in which our fans interact with us. Think about NBA Top Shot, NBA store purchases, League Pass, picking up a controller, playing one of our games like NBA 2K. Then even more broadly, we have folks that watch us on linear TV, that participate in junior NBA programs, play NBA fantasy, interact with us on social, and download and participate with our NBA app. What we need to do is find a way to make membership encompass all of these different behaviors and take the focus that we put on our in-arena experience for all of these different touch points. But as I said, we're going to start with our season ticket members. And very simply, the reason is we conducted over the past couple of years to prepare for our next-gen launch. We conducted a complete scrub of our database as we moved to the cloud. And we did all of that work that I'm sure you've done in your markets that is very tedious, very time-consuming, and also very underappreciated. But it allows us to share insights like this. First of all, that about a tenth of our domestic database is our season ticket members, and yet they comprise about 20% of attributable fan revenue. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Of course they do. They buy huge ticket packages. But at the same time, they also interact with us across every other product line as well. We did a study on future fan value and on average revenue per user, ARPU, across all these different revenue sources. And across our direct revenue sources like NBA League Pass and NBA Store, our season ticket members were 40% more valuable than non-season ticket members. Across indirect revenue sources like linear TV and social, 60% more valuable. Across NBA fantasy and gaming through our 2K and other platforms, double as valuable. So our season ticket members are not only valuable to us because they buy a lot of tickets, they're also valuable to us because they interact more across all other channels as well, which made March 2020 an incredibly challenging time. For us, that's the heart of our renewal cycle. We were heading right into that at the start of COVID. It was unclear whether or not there would be a finish to the 1920 season. It was even more unclear whether or not there would be a 2021 season, a reason to renew those members for. So at the league, we kicked into high gear, and we started up something we called our Fan Sentiment and Engagement Survey. We ended up running this over 3 phases, essentially from the April-May timeframe all the way through to November, December of 2020. We got about 80,000 responses. This is all folks that have attended games in Arena, not just our members, though members were a subset of this. And to the key question we asked, when arenas reopen, how likely are you to return? We had 30% of folks saying they would return immediately, 30% saying, you know what, we're going to go ahead and wait and see. We might return after a few weeks, maybe a month, and then 40% that said, we're probably going to hang on until we really feel safe. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into all the different cuts we can do. Here's a few. When we look at channels through which news is gathered, that obviously had an impact on the likelihood to return immediately and the likelihood to want to wait and see. If we think across markets, in one of our markets, 50% of fans said, as soon as you open the doors, I'm there. And in another market, more than 50% of our fans said they would probably take a little longer to return. But a lot of this, as you know, if you've done surveys in the past, this is all stated behavior. Not only this is stated behavior, this is stated behavior in an incredibly uncertain time. So we wanted to dig a little bit deeper. We did this in a variety of ways, but one way I want to show here has to do with one particular open end that we asked. And there's a lot of different technology out there for open ends. It's great. We can mine far more insights now, far more easily from the open ends that we ask. But I always caution, the best way to get the most out of your open ends is to have a goal for why you're asking the question. And so one of the questions we asked, really to focus on this persuadable and this longer-term returnee subset, was essentially what intervention is top of mind for you when it comes to returning to Arena. I apologize for the slides here, but essentially this is age demographics from 18 all the way through to 70 plus. And this is phase 1. This is our April and May phase. And essentially, we asked, we basically mined those insights from the open ends to figure out who was mentioning masks and who was mentioning vaccines. And at the time, across the board, about a third of our open ends said masks are going to be a requirement to return to arenas. Now, vaccines, slightly less for our younger demographics and slightly more for our older demographics, but masks across the board were a more desired intervention. Fast forward to phase 2, which was later in the summer, August and September timeframe. Essentially, what we found was that vaccines amongst our older demographic, because if you think about the news of the time, vaccines were actually becoming more possible. Like, it seemed like they might actually materialize in short order. So our older demographic was more interested in vaccines. Our younger demographic was more interested in having masks as an intervention required to return to arena. And then finally, by the time we got to December, which was really the end of our third phase of the fan sentiment and engagement study, we actually saw that vaccines were more required from our older demographic, which, by the way, is more of our season ticket member, and yet our younger demographic still very focused on masks. So we started looking at the same data that everyone else was. We started looking at the CDC website. And what you see here is the cumulative vaccines administered from the start of administration all the way through to May 22nd, 2021. I did not choose May 22nd, 2021 because it was when I got vaccinated. It is instead when our playoffs started. And it's the moment where we actually felt like our arenas were opening and we had the opportunity to welcome fans back. We had just crossed 300 million vaccines administered as a nation. And we were asked, as these buildings reopen, what should we expect? Are fans going to return to the arena? What should we do in order to make them feel more comfortable returning to the arena? And certainly, with all the work that we had done from our fan sentiment and engagement survey, we had a pretty good sense that vaccines were going to be key to this, and the speed of the rollout was something that we felt would make our playoffs feel a little bit more like normal. And sure enough, our playoffs finished with the third highest gate ever. We had more than 1 million fans attend our playoffs, and by the later rounds, when you actually could have these full buildings, we had about 17,000 fans per game. But we also immediately pivoted to 21-22. We thought, this is the first time we're going to have to renew our season ticket members in quite a while. So we were asked, what do you think the renewal rate's going to be like? But again, through all of this work that we had done to ensure that we were doing the things our members were asking of us, we felt like our renewal cycle would be pretty normal, and indeed, we renewed about 80% of our members for the 21-22 season, which is right in line with our targets. Now, it's one thing for us to collect this at the league. It's quite another to be able to make sure that all of our markets have this information as well. And we've launched about 2 years ago now our Teambo Reports platform. This is a portal that is accessible by every single team, and it contains all of the reports that we used to, back in the day, draft a memo, get a PDF report, send it out to teams. Now it's all available live whenever you want it. This particular dashboard here tracked the similar members, the folks that were our repeat respondents across phases. Another way we felt like we could get around a little bit the stated behavior gap was to look at what the same people were saying and what was top of mind and how that was changing over time. So that's just one of the myriad ways that we focus on our members and ensure they're having the best in-arena experience possible and keeping them central to what we do. But I want to take some time to discuss some of the other ways that we're seeing engagement with our league that is starting to build towards a more comprehensive idea of what membership is. And I want to start with these folks around the outside. Now, going back to our season ticket members, remember they're 0.1% of our domestic database. They comprise about 20% of fan-driven revenue. But they're also average age of 50. 40% of them are 55 and older. This has absolutely not changed since I joined the NBA in 2011. It's been very, very consistent over time. But if you look at other ways in which folks interact with us, our fans interact with us, via the NBA store, average age of 40 for those purchasers, NBA League Pass 37, all the way as you keep moving down the charts to something like NBA Pick'em, the average age of folks interacting with that product is 31. Now, when we get these new leads in, what's our instinct? what do we always think to do? We have a new lead that comes in, we push them straight through to our data warehouse. We may do a little bit of lead scoring. We want to make sure we load them into CRM. We get them in the reps' hands. The reps go out and they start making phone calls because we want to sell a membership, a season ticket membership. But as our commissioner loves this stat, loves to make sure that it's perfectly clear that 99% of our fans will never attend a game live. Now, I'm not here to say that we want to take our leads and not try to sell them memberships. We obviously do. This is entirely okay. But the road can't end here. We get a lead, we try to sell them a membership, and that's it. We need to think of ways in order to make membership broad. Think about NBA Top Shot. Burst on the scene, obviously exploded a little over a year ago. When you look at NBA Top Shot participants, when we look at registrants, they have an average age of about 31. 2/3 of them have been net new to our database, and fewer than 10% of them have ever purchased a ticket, merch, league pass previously. So this is quite a new demographic, quite a new set of fans for us. And certainly, they are worth so much. I mean, if you think about resales of Top Shot moments, it's approaching $1 billion worth of sales. These are a new type of fan that we have to find a way to bring in and give the same experience to that we do for our season ticket members. These are high-value fans that just want to interact with us in a different way. And we are making a lot of efforts on this front. When we think about our content, we have done a ton to try to drive towards personalization of our content. We've developed new ways to consume games like NBA Crunch Time, looking in at the final moments of games. Trying to figure out, there are some influencers out there are some particularly popular people in the basketball space. How can we give them their own platform to be able to broadcast games to their fans? How can we tailor streams to the rise of sports gambling? How can we provide new views, like in the bubble, we had the opportunity to experiment with new views like our Railcam. And we're constantly testing as well. I want to share a little bit on what we're doing around biometric testing and user experience testing today, but it's all with the goal of providing a truly personalized experience, something that we would deliver to our fans, our season ticket members, if they joined us in the arena. We want to deliver it to fans that are consuming our content outside of the arena as well. It's all about personalization. So the biometric stuff is incredibly interesting. We bring participants into a lab, they watch an NBA game, and we're able to understand their excitement, how they're feeling, their heart rate as they're watching what we're putting on the screen. And it's a little bit hard to see here, but if I blow it up, you might be able to see it. There's a yellow line, and what that yellow line is tracking is actually where the research participants' eyes were and where they are now. So in this case, we had a free throw, and we have a highlight that's going for a Giannis dunk on the other side. The research participant started watching the free throw, immediately moved to the highlight when it was shown. This is how we're going to slowly, over time, revolutionize our live game experience by understanding what produces the most excitement for an individual fan, to try to personalize this content for them. We're also heavily focused and heavily invested on the user experience side. We have so many digital products now. We want to make sure that, again, we're not just putting digital products out there, but instead, we're trying to figure out how fans want to interact with those products in exactly the same way we would do for our season ticket members in terms of a tailored experience. How can we make those products better? And of course, overarching all of this is the notion that we want to build a comprehensive platform that allows anyone that interacts with our properties in any way, teams and league, to feel like a member just like we do for those season ticket members. So I want to leave you with a few takeaways today. As hopefully I have convincingly argued, our traditional members have earned their place as a top priority. By no means does extending membership to all mean that we need to reduce the focus that we put on those core fans, those season ticket members. But we have so much opportunity to engage these new members, to take these new sources where we see heavy engagement, people that are dedicating a ton of time to what we're doing, to be able to engage them where they are, to not try to put them into the data warehouse, into the CRM funnel, sell them a season ticket membership, and when they don't convert, that's it. But instead, to engage them the way they want to be engaged. And finally, it's all about the experience. It's all about taking the same obsessiveness that we put into the in-arena experience and moving that to all of the products that we offer our fans. So with that, I'm not going to sing it, but you're welcome and thank you. I think we have time for some questions.
Thanks for the talk, great presentation. I'm curious if you have a perspective on, I've heard mentioned a couple times the past couple days that some folks think the trend you see in European football of ticket memberships outside of season ticket memberships, where, for instance, I'm a Tottenham supporter, you have to be a One Hotspur member to have access to their tickets at all. Do you see something like that coming to the NBA or any of the major leagues over here?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that we've seen discussed a lot. You know, you think through other ways in which we've seen this manifest is, could you offer a set of gear in exchange for being a member of like a comprehensive non-ticket based platform? But then the way you describe when you think about the notion of you have to be a member in order to even have access to tickets, that's another way that you can potentially reward those fans. But I do think that it's important to make sure that we don't focus too much on the ticketing piece and try to drive people where they don't want to be. We want to make sure we're still engaging folks where they are, giving them that experience where they are. But to the extent that ultimately we feel like there's a good ladder up where we feel like you can build to that over time, then certainly a membership that incentivizes or provides the baseline to be able to access those tickets could be incredibly useful. It's certainly something that we've looked a lot at when we thought about membership.
One thing I really like about European soccer is that the fans are also part of like the spectacle and the product in the game. Like if you go to a Dortmund game, you probably couldn't hear yourself think because of the fan section screaming the whole time. Obviously, the NBA doesn't really look the same, but is that something the NBA kind of looks at and wants to accomplish?
We've seen it experimented with over time. There are certainly some buildings that have some cheering sections, some supporters sections. There was actually a time, I believe it was the Sixers, I might get this wrong, but that essentially had like an application process to be able to sit in a certain section, and the prerequisite was that you had to be crazy. You had to like go crazy and really get folks riled up. So I think it's something that we've looked at and we've tested, but at the same time, like, I don't want to harp on this, but like it's got to be organic. It really does. Like if it's something that doesn't fit the building, then it's not something that's really just going to get a lot of uptake. I do know, though, that even my kids, when they watch European soccer and they just hear the chants, they're always like, how do they know what to say? And when I see the U.S. men's national team play and like they're chanting, it's like, how does everyone know that just at this time they just start chanting this? But it's organic to the sport and certainly something where if it were to develop in our buildings, we'd love it. It certainly does add to the experience. Anything else?
I was wondering, what kind of machine learning models are you leveraging for marketing and like propensity to buy, risk of churn, and how you're doing that?
Yeah, so a variety of ways. It all started really with our season ticket members, I think as it started with all of us, focusing on lead scoring and retention modeling. Those were the two big ones that we started with. And essentially what we would do is take any new lead that would come in through a variety of channels, mainly ticketing, and we would score them based on the information we had at the league office, and we'd kick them back out at the time through SFTP, this was back in the day, to our team so they can ingest them, get them right into CRM and be able to allocate them out and start selling. Our retention model was done on an annual basis, basically having teams submit accounts with a lot of information on those accounts for scoring and being able to push those scores back out to teams, preferably before the renewal cycle started, to be able to prioritize plan of attack for where they go. Obviously, there's a lot more that we're doing. The lifetime value work is very popular right now. We've been doing a lot of that at the league office. And certainly, I think core to this was getting our data house in order correctly. Getting our data hygiened, all the stuff that's, you don't get a lot of credit for, but super important. That's allowed us to now get into the phase of starting to really build those models, because that's what you need in order to get and push towards the personalization that we're looking for of the experience.
That's all the time. Thank you, Michael.
Yep. Thank you.